Hey, before we start this video, I just want to say I'm going to be doing a Souls marathon over on my Twitch channel starting October the 30th. I'm going to be starting with Demon Souls and then working my way through all of the Souls games back to back in order of release, including Bloodborne. You can follow me on Twitter to know when I go live, and other than that, enjoy today's episode. Dark Souls is great, and people always want more great stuff, but it looked like game developers didn't know Dark Souls was great until Dark Souls 2. And this is where the ball really started rolling on Souls-like games, and as a Souls player, more games like Dark Souls is awesome! But nowadays the term Souls-like has been turned into one of those sick memes due to the generous nature in which that specific term has been used. Is the game considered difficult? Souls-like. Is it a medieval fantasy? Souls-like. Is it a video game? Souls-like. When used unironically, the term Souls-like is supposed to describe games that are similar in nature to Dark Souls, but nowadays that doesn't stand for that. If the game is difficult or difficult to learn, it'll be branded as a Souls-like game. I originally was going to call this episode "What the fuck is a Souls-like?" but I have a feeling YouTube would have had a bloody heart attack. So, what the fuck is a Souls-like? A game like Dark Souls. It's a game that shares resemblance to the Souls games, mainly referring to mechanics such as checkpoints that respawn enemies, dying respawns the enemies but keeps your character progression, and the game being difficult. And this is where the term Souls-like loses all of its credibility, since the term is used so loosely that people who are looking for games similar to Dark Souls might end up looking at an isometric action game because sometimes there's a few bosses and you can level up your character. But even a game like Salt and Sanctuary, I'd argue, fall under the term 2D action RPG way before it's a Souls-like game. These collective traits all have to work in tangent with one another to actually be considered Souls-like, and this isn't because I'm angry at the misuse of this term. I just want to find other games I might be interested in. The biggest gripe I and a lot of other people have is what I mentioned earlier about the Souls-like being used so loosely when discussing difficulty especially. Dark Souls wasn't the first difficult game, but it is one of the most notorious. With the commercial success of the Souls franchise, not only has it garnered a dedicated fanbase, but it has had a huge reach. A lot of people love Dark Souls, and games developers know this, and they might use Dark Souls as some heavy inspiration, which is great, I guess. The issue I have is with people that write about games. And I'm at fault here too. I've used the term Souls-like on videos because it entices people who like the Souls games to click on that video. Is that considered clickbait? I don't know, probably. You think it's easy to survive on YouTube? You should intrigue and not mislead. If I want to entice you with the title, I can entice you with the title. At this stage, Souls-like is a term to entice people who like Dark Souls to come check out their game. If used in the correct manner, us the consumer will come across those games which actually share resemblance to the Souls series. Neo, Lords of the Fallen, The Surge. These are probably the titles that show true resemblance game mechanic wise to that of the Souls games. But does the term also extend if the game shares similar themes? I mean, yeah, sure. I'll go over Salt and Sanctuary again. The themes here are very similar to Dark Souls, but it doesn't start a conversation. If a game gets filed under this category, it automatically gets put on this pedestal and gets compared to Dark Souls. And this lessens the credibility of whatever game is being compared. Dead Cells is fucking awesome, but it had this mechanic where if you got hit by an enemy and lost health, you could regain that health by hitting an enemy back, just like Bloodborne. And for this reason, it got labelled as a Souls-like. Every single game shares mechanics across the board. Dark Souls, along with Bloodborne, is top of its class, so I'd understand wanting to take inspiration from it. But does it deserve its own subgenre of games? I don't really know about that. That sounds like some shit. And just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's a Souls-like. That shit needs to stop. Also, what the fuck does this mean, Cliff?
This game I wanted to make, we can talk about the gravity-defying combat, we can talk about the roles, the maps, all that stuff, but at the end of the day, I think we've kind of made the Dark Souls of competitive first-person shooters.
Last time I checked, people were still playing Dark Souls. No, I'm sorry. What happened to Lawbreakers is actually kind of a real shame. Hey, thanks for watching, and I hope you like the camera stuff. YouTube has been fucking dire lately, and I thought I'd just have some fun with it, so if you don't like it, fuck off. See you next time.